First time up, grounded to third. Last time up was called out on strikes. Here comes Carew home, and he is safe. He steals home to tie the ball game.
That was the voice of Herb Carneal, who died, sadly, on April 1st at the age of 83. Hi, I'm Art Simon, and welcome to a very special and personal edition of The Weekly Dead. Herb Carneal was a radio play-by-play announcer for 52 years and is a member of the broadcasting wing of baseball's Hall of Fame. And for 45 of those years, he was the radio voice of the Minnesota Twins, heard by millions of fans throughout the upper Midwest, not just Minnesota, but Wisconsin, Iowa, the Dakotas, as far west as Wyoming, as far south as Nebraska. But Herb Carneal was not simply a radio announcer. He was the voice of summer. I know people who swore their blood pressure went down the minute they heard Herb Carneal's voice, and I believe it. He may not have offered the poetry of a Vin Scully or the blue-collar edge of Ernie Harwell, with whom he called Oriole games in the 50s, but what you got from Herb was a calm, melodious delivery that never got in the way of the game. Herb didn't need the inflated drama of Fox Sports. He didn't need the ironic detachment of SportsCenter. Herb knew that he was in the booth, not on the field, and he never let his ego get in the way of a game. And Herb knew when to not talk. Listen to a ball game these days, guys in the booth, they don't know when to shut up. Herb was comfortable with silence. You could always watch the Twins on television, but if you really wanted to experience the game, you listened to Herb on the radio. You see, a play-by-play announcer holds something like a public trust. He or she is with you for 162 days of the year, and that doesn't count spring training or the postseason. Play-by-play announcer has to be a year-round friend, an around-the-clock friend. Easy on the mind, easy on the ears, in the afternoon, the evening, and if your team is playing on a late-night West Coast game, into the early a.m. hours. He's got to be a good dinner companion, a good lunch companion, welcome in the dining room, welcome at the barbecue. And he can't scare the fish away if you're listening to the game with a line in the water. Herb Carneal always got it right. Let's pay tribute to Herb by listening.
Here's the set, the pitch. Fastball swung on, there it goes! A high drive to right! Away!
Lighten your lids like candle for Herb Carneal, the voice of summer,
died
at the age of 83.
He mashed that ball.
There aren't too many days when you open the obituaries and see the name of someone you know. But this happened recently with the sad news that Jay Kennedy had died. Jay Kennedy was the editor-in-chief of King Features Syndicate, a company that distributes comics and columns to newspapers throughout the country. But Jay was no bureaucrat. He wasn't simply a company executive. He was a mentor, editor, and friend to a whole new generation of young cartoonists. Take a look at the expressions of grief on any cartoonist blog, and you'll see what a profound impact Jay had on the field. He nurtured new artists, a whole new generation who created such comic strips as Mutts, Zits, and Baby Blues. I knew Jay Kennedy when we attended the University of Wisconsin in Madison together in the late 1970s. He was a sweet, soft-spoken guy with a signature long red-hair ponytail and sideburns. I remember sitting next to him in class as he drew amazing cartoons. I would be listening to a lecture or trying to take notes, but I couldn't keep my eyes from straying off to the side and watching Jay doodle a beautiful cartoon that looked like it was about to walk off the page. Years later, after we had both left Madison, and I heard he had become cartoon editor at Esquire magazine, it all made sense. I had not been sitting next to an amateur. I saw Jay Kennedy about 2 weeks before his untimely death. saw him at a book fair in Greenwich Village. He didn't remember me right away, but I recognized him immediately. We talked about Madison in the late 70s, and he reminded me that he had been part of Pail and Shovel. Pail and Shovel was an ersatz political party that somehow got itself elected to run the university's student government. It was also responsible for a couple of legendary events in the city of Madison. One morning, we woke up to find that the head and torch of the Statue of Liberty had been built on the frozen lake next to campus. News spread around town like wildfire as hundreds of students came down to the lakefront to see what amounted to a winter's version of the last shot of Planet of the Apes. Then, in spring, we woke up to find hundreds of garden pink flamingos planted in the middle of campus. Jay Kennedy's creative imagination was all over these two events. What I find compelling about Jay's story is that he didn't have any of the self-absorption, the brashness you'd associate with success in Manhattan. And yet, there he was, unassuming, but a powerful voice behind the comics that you read every day in the newspaper. Jay Kennedy died while on vacation in Costa Rica. He was only 50. Light a yurtsite candle for Jay Kennedy. Well, that's it for this episode of The Weekly Dead. You can write to me at art@theweeklydead.com. Thanks to all of you who have sent in emails so far. See you on the next show. Same time, same place, different dead.